Ukraine had a good night last night. It is now Saturday, November 1st, 2025. Last night, they put the lights out in the areas around Moscow, not the Kremlin itself, but around Moscow. Look at this chart. This is from Drone Bomber. This is what I saw last night before I went to sleep. It was a chart of Ukrainian drones going out for their attack. And what did they do? Well, there was a blackout in the Moscow region again. Authorities called it a situation. Zhukovsky plunged into blackout. Electricity and heating went out. Local channels reported air defense activity and an attack by Ukrainian drones. But officials cheerfully called it just a situation and blamed power grid accidents, as if this is a normal evening routine. Ukrainian monitoring channels said that hundreds of attack UAVs were launched toward Moscow yesterday. There's a public park in Moscow, or in the Moscow region, kind of flipping out as the Ukraine power grid, or Ukraine attacked the power grid. And then power was reportedly knocked out in the Moscow suburb of Zhukovsky tonight, well, last night, after a Ukrainian drone attack. You can kind of see a little bit here of light and not a whole lot, right? Okay. Where was this? So if this is Moscow proper, this here, Zhukovsky is right here, just in the outer rings, just outside Moscow. Let me see if I can zoom in on that so you can see where it is. Moscow proper, and then here it is. Okay, Russian electricity infrastructure is entering a systemic crisis with capacity shortage of 25 gigawatts, or 9%, and growing, caused by network overload, worn out equipment, and sanctions that have restricted access to technology. This is according to Ukraine's Foreign Intelligence Service. If I'm reading that correctly, what I'm hearing is that with just a little bit extra pushing, they can actually do something pretty significant to the power grid. Okay, coordinated Ukrainian strike has also caused simultaneous explosions along 3 lines of Russia's oil product pipeline that carries gasoline, diesel, and jet fuel to the front. This is not the same as the power grid. This is above and beyond the last story. We're talking about they're attacking oil and gas. I told you it was a good night for Ukraine. Okay, the attack knocked out a key military energy hub near Moscow. Security measures, including anti-drone barriers and armed guards, failed to stop it. 400-kilometer Kotovskoye main pipeline had linked to the Ryazan, Nizhny Novgorod, and Moscow refineries, delivering up to 3 million tons of aviation fuel, 2.8 million tons of diesel, 1.6 million tons of gasoline each year. And I just stopped that right where it was. You can see other parts of what was going on here, but I just stopped where that big plume was. Yesterday, Ukraine's GUR successfully conducted major sabotage operation in Moscow, successfully blowing up the main gasoline, diesel, fuel, and aviation pipelines to the capital. Anti-drone nets again appeared to be useless. 400 kilometers of pipeline fed by 3 major refineries, yearly 3 million tons of jet fuel and others. Okay, and here's where it was, or what it looked like. I'm not sure exactly what that is I'm looking at. And then here's where it was relative to Moscow. It's reasonably close. Okay, and then there was this. This was from Budanov saying, in fact, our strikes had more of an impact than sanctions. It's just a mathematical truth. We caused much greater damage to the Russian Federation through direct action than any economic levers of influence on them that had been introduced up till now. Right? Armed struggle continues. The military directorate of the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine reminds that there will be fair retribution for every war crime committed against Ukrainian people. Glory to Ukraine. Yeah. So their new tack has been something different than what it was. It used to be, stop, don't hit our energy pipeline. Look, they're hitting our energy pipeline. World, look at this. And the world yawned. So they said, okay, look, here's what's going to happen. If you hit our thermal power plants, we're going to hit your thermal power plants. If you hit our energy, we're going to hit your energy. And that seems to have had a more impact than the previous approach. Drones reach Tula. Residents evacuated after activity in the residential area. I haven't been able to figure out what was in Tula. I know they've hit Tula before. Maybe there's oil or military something around this. But around 50 households were evacuated after drone drone debris fell on. So if drone debris is falling, they're shooting it down. And okay. 223, this is what Russia's doing to Ukraine now, 223 strike UAVs. Ukraine defenders shot down or suppressed 206 enemy drones. So that's a little higher than normal. Normal would be like 150-ish, something like that. So it's higher than that. And it had a good ratio, 92.3% strike knockdown ratio. That was a good night. It's a good night all the way around for Ukraine here. Emergency services in Poltava region have extinguished a fire in gas production facility following a Russian strike on November 1st. This is what they go after, or a gas station. Russian ballistic strike on Mykolaiv this morning. One person killed, 15 more injured, child among them. Gas station vehicles damaged because they struck a gas station. I mean, this is, yeah. Okay. On the battlefield, 900 Russians off the battlefield day over day. 6 tanks, 9 artillery systems, 2 APVs, right? And look down here at the number of 58 vehicles. That's low, right? 58 vehicles is kind of a low thing. But the actions in Pokrovsk, and here we see Russian invaders conducted 46 assaults. I'm not sure how you're calculating these anymore, because it's not like a massive wave assault. It's usually just slipping in a couple here, slipping in a couple there now, because the tactics have changed. Okay. GUR head Kirill Budanov was spotted with his special forces en route to Pokrovsk. Reports yesterday showed GUR troops landing near the city and claim Budanov is personally leading the operation. While commanders aren't inside the city due to intense fighting and constant shelling, they're coordinating closely from nearby. So here's Budanov with his guys, and yeah, they're coordinating from nearby. I saw this yesterday. Ukraine lands special forces in embattled Pokrovsk. This is a risky maneuver now. They were landing helicopters with infantry. So here's what this looks like. You can see this from a FPV drone. There's the helicopter, the infantry getting out. Now, I've seen a couple of variations of this, and one was claiming, and I couldn't tell, one was claiming that at least one of the landings, these guys were all getting wiped out. It was like a Che Bao's kind of something, and it looked like, oh, there's a helicopter, and then you see something click, and then you see FPV drones blowing up or something like that. I couldn't tell if it was fabricated, if it was the same incident, or what it was, but this is a crazy dangerous thing to be doing, to be dropping guys off of a helicopter in a world where FPV drones are doing what FPV drones are doing. Ukraine has reportedly launched counteroffensive near Pokrovsk to restore key logistics routes. The Economist reports GUR UH-60 Black Hawk helicopters and special forces have landed in areas Russia considers under their control. Here it is a little bit more from Euromaidan Press. Russia Defense Ministry triumphantly announced encircling Ukrainian defenders in Mirgorod. Chief General Staff Gerasimov even reported the achievement directly to Putin. Within hours, geolocated footage surfaced showing Ukrainian forces actively clearing Russian infiltrators from nearby Rodzniki. Mispronounce that one. I'm not even going to try that one again. I'll come back to it. Put the pronunciation down there if you know what it is. 14th Chernova Kalina Brigade hunted down infiltration groups through multiple streets with 30mm cannon, eliminating them before they could entrench. In Pokrovsk, General Budanov deployed GUR special operators units to coordinate counter-sabotage sweeps. Now, what's happened here is really interesting. They captured several Russian operatives, including members of Russia's own main directorate of the armed forces. Drone footage showed that Ukrainian operators were ambushing Russian soldiers who had been, listen to this, who had been told that the town was already captured. This happens again and again to the Russians. I mean, I'm not complaining about it, but I see this regularly. The supposed encirclement never materialized. Russian generals appear to have oversold their progress to the Kremlin. Okay, so I get that, but it is pretty bad. Like, I mean, if you look at the pocket where they are and how much room that they have to maneuver and to be able to escape in time of FPV drones. I was watching Combat Veteran News, and Paul did a good job explaining all the problems that were there. So if you want to If you think that this take here is too optimistic, maybe this is too pessimistic. I don't know, but watch that and you can get a better sense, triangulate on the news in order to understand what's going on. Okay. Yeah, I highly advise that. Intense fighting continues in Pokrovsk as Ukraine defense forces repel Russian assaults under relentless drone attacks. Combat footage from the area shows the intensity of the battle, and yeah, it's rough. Now, there were two places that Putin was talking about. He was talking about Pokrovsk, and he was also talking about, or Gerasimov was talking to Putin about, was Pokrovsk and Kupiansk. There are no surrounded Ukrainian units there. There are hundreds of Russians dying every day trying to take it. Russia is desperate to convince stupid Westerners that it's winning, hence the dumbest propaganda push yet. I've shown this a couple of times. Here's Kupiansk. Are they in the city? Yeah, they got into the city. Are they surrounded? I mean, by any definition of surrounded, this doesn't seem to be surrounded, right? I mean, it doesn't. So I'm not sure what to make of what we see here. Okay, fighters of the 414th Brigade, Birds of Magyar, report 8,005 Russian troops were eliminated in October alone. October. We just turned from yesterday was the 31st, Halloween, right? A new video shows drone operators striking 39 enemy soldiers, 6 motorcycles, 1 quad bike. But again, 8,000 Russian troops by drone operators just from that one unit, the Birds of Magyar. Okay. Security forces raided an entire Roma settlement near Tula. Well, they have to get troops somehow because Ukraine keeps taking them off the battlefield. Russia's security services staged full-scale raid with everyone on deck: FSB, Interior Ministry, traffic police, tax authorities, even utility workers. As a result, 35 residents were taken to military enlistment office. 22 were fined for draft evasion, 13 sent for medical checks. So, yeah, I mean, you gotta get the cannon fodder somehow, and that's how it's being done. Over the course of 5 weeks, fighters from the State Border Guard Service, Pomsta Revenge Brigade, shot down 100 Russian drones with a net in the Serbiansky forest. In one of those cases, the pilot saved the life of a Ukrainian soldier twice. But what I'm showing you this for is because the shooting down of a drone with a net, it's pretty incredible to see this kind of thing work. And like, yeah, it's pretty amazing stuff. There goes the net deploying and knocking down the drone. All right, last little bit. This is old. This was from some time ago, but I think it shows the difference between the Russians and the Ukrainians. The Ukrainians are going after legitimate targets, and the Russians just keep targeting civilians for some inexplicable reason. I don't get it. All right, my friends, that's all that I have here. Thank you for the time, the likes, the shares, and the subscribes. And thank you for being the kind of person that cares about Ukraine.